I am so happy, dude. Not only did Venom have like a wicked single at the end, but Hobbs and Shaw also had just like a really corny, shitty song at the end. Where it's back, man. They like singles in the credits.
Welcome to Funhaus, everybody. This week's episode is sponsored by Hims. I've got my buds Lawrence, Adam, and James.
Hello.
My name's Daniel. We are here this week. We're going to start off talking about Venom 2. Everyone's super stoked about this movie.
We just saw it. We can't believe all the things that happened. Where's James going? I have no idea.
He's gone.
Well,
James didn't like Venom. I can't believe it.
No.
But
For our audio listeners, I pretended to leave the room.
oh, you said that way off mic, by the way.
I know, that's why it's
That's
funny.
gonna play in
It
the
comes from the back. It's audio comedy.
So,
Talking about dance.
See?
Venom was a comedy, remember?
Yeah,
it
action
actually
comedy.
was.
Yeah,
that was maybe the better part of the movie.
You know, if you think of it like a buddy comedy, that's not what it is at all. But it kind of works.
That's kind of what people made it
kind of
into
got
after
there,
the fact.
Yeah.
Sony even realized that and started making the later trailers.
Yeah,
kind of like that.
They leaned into it for sure.
They didn't know. And here's an indicator that your theory is wrong. They changed their marketing to do that.
Yeah.
Well, so something interesting about this is usually when a film is a huge hit, Venom made $850-some million around the world.
Nice job, Venom.
No way.
Yeah.
Massive hit. But usually a studio would scramble to keep that core filmmaking team that made that first film a success. They would want to keep that filmmaking team together.
You mean the assembly line that created
Well,
They kind of did.
Yeah. Anyway, Ruben Fleischer is out, not returning to direct. We are now getting Andy Serkis.
The collective Who.
What?
Fleischer?
No, everyone
Zombieland.
knows who Andy Serkis is.
Yeah.
Zombieland, come
no,
on.
They know who Andy Serkis is. No one knows who
Ruben
directed
Fleischer.
Oh, sorry.
Zombieland.
And upcoming Zombieland double tap.
Oh, Lord.
Adam.
Yeah,
I honestly
that's what I wanted at the end of Zombieland.
Yeah,
more
more
Zombieland.
Zombieland. Give us
don't
more token celebrities,
hate him
please.
as a director.
So yeah, Fleischer's out and Serkis is in.
Best thing you could say.
brave.
I do not
I guess
revile
I-
his being.
I guess I'm
There was
brave.
nothing in Venom 1 where I went, that's a real signature of that director.
Yeah. Well, if anything, it was tasteless and styleless.
It felt like something that was they sprinted to the finish line just to get it done because there's probably way too many. I would guess studio intervention because they're like it needs to be an MCU movie, but don't make it MCU
Yes.
movie.
Yeah.
Venom is a perfect example of film by committee.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It reminded me a lot of like the pre-MCU superhero movies like Ghost Rider and Daredevil.
Yeah,
of like
that's exactly that level.
we're just gonna hit the beats and have a dumb song at the end and people are gonna love it.
for that reason, I do not blame Ruben Fleischer coming in under budget, under time,
Sure.
and then not wanting to ever come back.
My guess is he said, I'm not going to do that again. Hell no.
Yeah.
He probably has
Could you
some
imagine that
cool
movie with
ideas.
anyone but Tom Hardy?
No.
Yes.
No, I can't
Yeah.
actually.
Well,
I mean, yeah, easily.
it wouldn't be.
he was the saving grace of Venom, honestly.
I think so. Yeah.
Was he?
I would
Well,
say so.
I think he was the saving grace in that he was the only thing that was remotely memorable about it, but it also stood out like a sore thumb. That
Just trying to do weird new
that
stuff.
it was just something odd in. It was just a completely blank, boring canvas with weird dot in the middle of it, and you're like, that doesn't fit or match any of this at all tonally. But I guess I remember it because of that.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, maybe Tom has a lot of creative control. I'm guessing he's a producer on the film and maybe didn't want Fleischer back. Maybe Fleischer wanted to be on. Who knows? But we have Andy Serkis, who has his only major film is Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle.
I wouldn't. That's not his only major film.
Directing job.
He was a second unit director, uncredited on The Hobbit,
yeah.
which was also a mess.
I was gonna say you can't say that it's someone's film if they're a uncredited second unit director.
I'm just saying it's.
I saw those featurettes too, Adam.
No, well, I'm just saying like it's not like he made one movie and they said, I guess dude's been in the industry for a while. He probably knows what he's doing. With probably even a CGI heavy movie like Venom 2. Actually, I think that's a good pick.
Sure.
I don't know.
He bid out two guys, Rupert Wyatt of Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Travis Knight, the Bumblebee and Kubo and the Two Strings director.
Oh, that sucks. That
Or
sucks.
does it? I mean, wouldn't you rather that director go on to work on something that isn't Venom
It
2?
makes sense.
Yes.
It makes,
Which is $6
yes.
billion Man, by the way. I think is what he's going to work on
well,
instead.
I think it,
Is that like a reboot of $6 Million Man?
yes.
Are you
nothing-
serious?
Everything old is new.
Yeah, 10 years from now, it'll be $6 trillion man.
It
Isn't
just
that- that's
sucks
just Iron
because
Man. Never mind.
Travis Knight did bring something to a property that was boring and stale and should have been terrible.
This is
You're talking about
Bumblebee.
Kubo?
Bumblebee. I'm talking about Bumblebee. I think Bumblebee was a genuinely good movie that came out in a time where a bunch of properties were just getting rehashed and rehashed and rehashed. And he was like, oh, well, if we're going to rehash something, let's at least find some interesting aspect of it or make a good genre movie of it. Sure. So that's probably what I think probably Venom needed, was a coherence of the character and the narrative as opposed to just cashing the check and getting it in under budget.
You can't make a standalone superhero movie anymore, though, right?
Well,
It has to tie to a universe of some kind. You
Mobius,
mean?
dog. It's in there. It's MCU 2 or whatever.
I'm just saying, like, we had a theory that a lot of people went and saw Venom because they were tricked.
Oh, they thought it was
They
Spider-Man.
thought it was a Spider. It was like, oh, we're getting a Spider-Man villain origin movie, but because of the way film politics work and rights acquisitions, you can't have Spider-Man and Venom in the same movie. God damn it!
Which is actually good. I want
What?
Sony to stay as far away from Tom Holland.
I mean, they're
Spider-Man
still
as
involved
possible.
with the Tom Holland movies.
I just want him to stay away from this mess.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
God, it would cheapen all the good Spider-Man movies they've been making. There was the one cool shot of the movie right there.
What?
no, that's the worst. Are you kidding me? That's the worst shot of the.
No.
What is what? That is a garbage.
Well, that's
that's a perfect
the-
example of the trash of this movie.
The whole end of the movie was unintelligible except for this one scene that they did in slow motion and they lit. The
But
one,
what is happening
one shot.
there? What
I
is
don't-
happening?
I don't
What is
remember.
what? Nothing. Everything is garbage.
I think
there.
it's just trying to represent that, like, this.
Yeah.
It's like it's two conflicts at once, right? It's Tom Hardy fighting
Riz Ahmed.
Dev. And then it's also Venom fighting Anti-Venom or whatever his name was. I
It was
don't know.
toxic.
Riot.
Riot,
See,
whatever.
no one knows because it was all terrible. You don't know where one begins and where. That's a great way to show off the hero and the villains. You don't know where one begins, where the other ends. It's all big mess on the screen.
They're going to learn all their lessons from the mistakes of Venom 1 and make a really cool Venom 2.
Well, that's what worries me. It's like there was an element of lightning in a bottle, the accidental, like, two bros who are both outcasts, like, finding each other, and maybe they don't have the most healthy relationship, but that's what they need from each other at that time, and they just go on, like, a gay spree in San Francisco, having a good old time. I think once you know that and you start to go into the second movie trying to recreate that, it's going to fall off the rails a little bit.
Possibly the same writer, Kelly Marcel, from the first one, is returning. She's known from her high-quality work in Venom, 50 Shades of Grey, Saving Mr. Banks, the TV show Terra Nova, and an upcoming movie called Cruella, which I think is about the Dalmatians villain.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
It's
about right.
But I guess
Working writer, I guess.
Serkis was quoted in saying that Tom's heavily involved in writing the script this time, which might mean more lobster tank weirdness.
That was stuff he just did on the day. In his defense, he probably was like, "This shit's gonna suck. So why don't we do something in the lobster tank?"
Says this part I'm really hot, and on also says lobsters.
Which I don't blame him because it's again
Yeah.
the only entertaining aspect of the film.
Well, yeah.
agree.
So hopefully they're doubling down on that kind of cartoonishness.
Well, I'll say this: if the best agreed to be the best parts were the dynamic between Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy, right?
Yeah.
AKA Eddie Brock and Venom, was the only thing that people seemed to enjoy. No one pointed at the action. No one pointed at the interesting villain or the characters or the love story. No one pointed at any of that.
No, that
it was
was all
all like,
terrible.
oh, I really liked watching Tom Hardy talk to Tom Hardy. But those moments were fleeting. Andy Serkis, at least as an actor, has experience with some of the best sequences in the history of film where one character is talking to himself.
yeah. Well,
a very good point.
So I would say in terms of the first person plural side of the film, it'll probably get better. And hopefully there's more of it.
Serkis, his expertise would certainly be performance capture, and maybe he can bring some of that knowledge to the Venom character.
Maybe.
This is if you're getting into hey, big spoiler at the end of Venom.
Oh.
There's this actor you may remember from Cheers, and he's wearing a clown wig.
Ted Danson?
Oh, they should get Ted. They should get
Yeah.
all of
Kelsey
Cheers.
Grammer?
I mean, I don't think it matters who plays
John
Carl.
Ratzenberg?
Just there's probably an
Keep
actor.
going.
Young people had no idea. They're like, this is the guy from Zombieland, maybe.
Norm?
True Detective, and he just goes,
Kirstie Alley.
There's gonna be carnage, and then he's like, oh, they're gonna have carnage in the second one.
Woof.
Yeah. But when you do the Venom Carnage storyline, you start to do the separation anxiety storyline from the
Get there a
90s,
bit.
maybe.
I think the moral punch of that is like, as Venom is an anti-hero, Carnage is a villain. Like in Spider-Man lore, he's the Joker. He's the one like inhuman, uncurable, can't be reasoned with, can't be like, he just wants to murder. So it pushes the question of like, is it okay to kill a killer? That's the whole thing about Carnage. And if Venom's an anti-hero, that's not a question. It's just like
He's
they
just
just hate
gonna
each
do it.
other. Yeah, he's just gonna kill him or
Well,
try to anyway.
Also, the other thing too is there's the other aspect. The interesting thing about Carnage is that Venom comes onto the scene, seems like a bad guy.
I wasn't saying that to James. It's just a scene in the trailer. I realize in audio that could sound really bad. My bad.
Venom is on the scene, seems like a bad guy, kind of comes to terms with his villainous and realizes there's potential there for his tendencies to do good. And then Carnage, like you said, shows up and is irredeemable and is pure bad, and it's like almost like a mirror image. It's like, oh, well, this is what happened if I didn't ever stop kind of going. But when the first movie is also about a mirror image of you that's all bad,
It's the same exact
I
villain.
don't understand where you're supposed to go with something like Carnage, other than hopefully the CG is better, and now we can tell them apart.
I said,
Because one's redder.
yeah.
There's father-son dynamics there too.
Well, yeah, 'cause
which is
it-
also a huge Spider-Man thing.
But Carnage is Venom's offspring.
Yeah,
in some way.
Spawn or whatever.
Yeah, but in the world of goop, dripping off goop, I don't know that there's going to be that great of a story there.
I don't think so.
I'm just saying, like, with the as a kid growing up not knowing much about Venom and kind of watching the Spider-Man cartoon and stuff, it was cool to see Spider-Man and Venom team up to take on a villain where they're like, whoa, this guy's so bad, Venom, we got to team up and take him down. Oh, cool, Spider-Man and Venom fighting back to back for now. The truce is on until this fight's over, and then it's back to basics. And then also Doppelganger was in it, and that's a weird character.
Oh, you're talking about Maximum Carnage?
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
Maximum Carnage. Yeah, but
There's a lot of weird characters in Maximum Carnage. That was the C tier trying to do their version of like Infinity War or
I think
something.
that's when I found out about Cloak and Dagger. I mean,
yeah.
they have their own show.
yeah.
Things I never hear. I love the action in Venom. I can't wait to see Cloak and Dagger tonight. Man, when's the Runaways
Hey,
coming back?
I got
on?
chills when I saw Woody Harrelson in that
Jessica
clown wig.
Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil, all over. You know what's not?
What?
Cloak and Dagger.
Got a
Still
point there.
going
Is
on
that a
whatever
CW?
channel it's on.
Here's the thing. I
Fox
don't know.
Sports 3 or something.
That was a weird one. Good for Netflix for at least trying to replicate what they're doing with the MCU and then somehow spectacularly failing.
Well, it cost too much, Netflix is running out of money.
Well, and at some point, Netflix decided only 2 seasons of a show was the magic number. So
Isn't that because of royalties?
Stranger Things 3 would be to differ there, Dan. No, I just
I don't
think,
remember the reasoning behind it.
I think it's just chronology. I think they greenlit a lot of shows, managed to get 2 seasons out of them before they burned all of their cash. And I don't know what the long play there was, but they're about to.
You only pay Disney so much for rights, and then you're like, why are we doing this? If they're going to do their own streaming platform, who cares?
So I did a tiny bit of research looking up where symbiotes came from in the comic book universe, and this shit is wild.
Okay.
Are
No,
you guys
comic book
interested?
storylines that are fucking bonkers.
They explained it in the movie pretty well, so I'd like to see what you can teach me
A
today.
meteorite crashes in Central Park right next to
Oh.
where a hammock is made out of spider webs, and then that's how they form.
Spider.
Way before that.
Oh, okay.
Try to guess again.
It's a planet of symbiotes.
No, yeah.
right?
Yes, Adam got close there.
Oh, yeah, we know because he brought back from space Secret Wars.
He said that in his he's like, I am a turd on my planet, and I'm like you.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a planet of symbiotes that was created as a prison for the guy that created the symbiotes, who's an evil entity.
Why would you put him there? If he made all the symbiotes, why would
Because he was bad, and they didn't want to be bad anymore.
But he knows how. Never mind.
You created the
probably won't be
Twinkie.
an
We
issue.
will put you in a prison full of Twinkies.
Yeah, basically.
No, but he created the symbiote. He chopped off the head of one of the Celestials and forged the symbiotes in that dead head that became Nowhere from Guardians of the Galaxy. Cool. It's fucking dumb.
Wait, so
dumb or
was this?
cool.
Yeah.
At some point, one of them was a dragon and came to Earth, and
Sick.
Thor beat it up,
Fuck yeah.
and that's what severed the connection between. Was it Null, the guy that created these symbiotes?
Okay.
And the control over them.
Nah.
So that's when they revolted against him and created a planet to imprison him.
Was this all retconned, or was
I
this
don't know,
like?
man.
Yeah, I'm always curious.
This was 5 minutes of Wikipedia.
because there were Secret Wars, and then
That was the original the Black
I think this is newer retconning.
it sounds like it.
I mean, that's comic books in general, though. They it's always like, well, once they say multiverse, all bets are off. And
Basically,
yeah,
yeah.
if you don't like that version of the story, wait 10 years and they'll do it
Yeah.
again. It's fine.
The
Don't worry.
spectacular Spider-Man.
So you guys aren't excited for Woody to be Carnage? You don't think he can like do a toe-to-toe with Tom Hardy?
He's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were vamping about this before the podcast started. I don't know, James. I think you summarized it perfectly. So
Well, I mean, it was based off what you were saying. I think you're correct. But the movie, at least the first Venom, seems to be at odds with what Cletus Cassidy is and who Woody Harrelson is. And you can either do one of two things when you take a known character. Cletus Cassidy is a very eccentric, like Lauren said. He's basically the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
He's wild. He's a
Insane serial killer.
He's muttering and very fast, and that's what makes him kind of scary. But Woody Harrelson is none of those things. In fact, he's the polar opposite of all of those things.
He is a slow step down at all times.
Which is
He's
also
3/4
scary in its
speed.
own way. Woody Harrelson has played very scary people in his career, and he's a great actor. But the movie has to understand the strengths of the actor and the capabilities of the actor and what his strengths are. So at the end of Venom, when he shows up, he is literally at odds with those two strengths. They put him in a bright red
The wig's
clown
gonna
wig,
have to go, right?
A bright red clown wig, and then gave him lines that are supposed to sound eccentric and wild, but Woody Harrelson performs them in Woody Harrelson's way, which is this slow, drawn-out thing,
You're
and it
you're
is
waiting
a
for him
joke.
to like sip lemonade between each word.
It feels like a joke.
I feel like they might be able to find like a weird comedy in all of it. Like the few things that we liked about
Carnage
Venom,
is
I
not
feel like
supposed to be
Woody
comic.
could do that stuff too.
Well, also,
that's a problem.
Are they going to keep Woody Harrelson too? Was he just there because he was Zombieland's friend?
That's a good question.
I mean, I'm
Would
pretty
it-
sure that when stuff like that happens, he's
It's-
already signed a contract
Yeah.
that said he's coming back for the next
he's
one.
going to be in 6 Venom
I don't think
movies,
that you
probably.
show up with the lead into the next one without having signed a document saying that, yes, I will be in the next one.
This would be great. Is if he shows up and he goes, "It's me, Cletus Cassidy, Senior." And then his son shows up, the real Cletus, and then he kills him, and
Gosh,
he
you
goes,
could be
"I'm
right.
crazy." And they
That's
go,
fine.
We fixed it.
I can see a path, and this is all like This is like bullet points on a whiteboard. It's all executional, obviously, but I could see with true crime being big right now. It's like he's that kind of serial killer. It's like Urbane, more of like a Ted Bundy type, where he's in prison, but he manipulates the media. He presents a certain image, very Woody Harrelson-y, of being like wholesome and like, I didn't do these things. I don't know why everybody's freaking out. And he can execute that. I think then you also link it to Eddie Brock being a journalist of like, no, he's trying to find the truth, and here's this guy manipulating news media to present this image. So Cletus gets out, starts murdering people, and then you have that like two-tone combat again, where Eddie Brock's trying to out him as a serial killer, meanwhile Venom is
the
trying to fight
news.
Carnage.
I got
So again, whiteboard, the arrows line up. I could see that working out, and I could see it
boy.
working with like the way villains are perceived in media now, and like true crime killer kind of thing could work out
I
pretty
think
well.
they get an apartment together, and we just see if it works.
They draw a line down
Open
the
a
middle.
bar.
There's no way to judge the movie before it even exists.
No.
So we're not trying to do that. But in terms of understanding how movies are made and the business of movies, there's a couple things you can look at. Number one, director didn't come back.
Same thing
Number
happened
two,
with, go ahead,
number
Taylor.
two, same writer, right?
Potentially.
So that means that
No,
they
she's
already
in.
laid a groundwork. The writer didn't write something and say, I can't wait to destroy all this in the next one.
Yeah.
That rarely happens. Normally a new writer comes in and then destroys everything. They also, yeah, he did
what
what
you
he
were
wanted to
referring
do. But then they also, like, just the vibe that I got is that Sony was just as surprised as everyone in this room that Venom did as well as it
Sure.
did.
We did a whole podcast about how the movie was going to fail, actually.
Yeah.
And we were very wrong.
Just in terms of its release and everything about its early perception, it seemed like they were like, oh shit. Well, let's put it out there and hope for the best. And then it did huge. And then they were like, oh my God. And then like that, there were even like conversations like, oh, now they're thinking about taking Spider-Man back. like news stories kind of came out, which sounds to me that Sony didn't have a plan necessarily in place. So you could take that one of two ways. One, they're willing to throw it all out the window to make something better. Or two, they don't need a plan.
They might not.
The lesson they learned generally, what what
Just
business people
hire Tom
generally
Hardy.
learn is if something works, oh, I guess we didn't need a plan. They don't then prepare more for the next one. That's what I've learned working in this industry for as long as I have.
I didn't see Mowgli, but I feel like as an actor and the projects he's chosen, Andy Serkis has more wins than losses.
Sure.
I would say, even from his video game choices, the stuff he did with Ninja Theory. If you ever played, what was it, Heavenly
Slade?
Sword, he was the villain in that. I thought he was actually amazing. Fuck, Andy Serkis would be a good Carnage. Now that I think about it.
He just takes over.
He's already in the MCU.
But then
He could
what-
do the he could do the performance capture.
also
for
him in
Carnage.
Enslaved, another video game that he was like heavily involved in and like worked like his little like mocap company like worked heavily on it and stuff. But he does good projects. So I'm hoping he brings something to
Your
this.
role as an actor in someone else's vision is entirely different than you having to create something from nowhere. Unless the studio is like, well, this is a guy who's only got one thing. Maybe he wants to get into this world, so we'll give him this thing. He has credibility, exactly like Adam's describing. So people will go, oh, cool, Andy Serkis. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, the guy in the executive office is going to be the one saying, no, Andy, this is how it's going to happen. And he won't fight it because while we think he has this kind of leverage in this world of directing feature films, major feature films, he may have none. We don't know.
So I have a feeling Tom has a lot of oversight. on
Probably.
this.
Well, I'm sure he has. I was curious how much
as an EP, yeah.
budgeting might factor into it because now that the movie's a success, the director can probably ask a much bigger check, and certainly Tom Hardy is, and they can't lose Tom.
Oh.
So maybe it's like, well, the director's coming back saying, I spun this into gold for you, now you got to pay me. No? Is that not how it
those
works?
contracts are written on like 10-year.
Okay.
Everything is now ruined. Not ruined, but like every single studio will sign you on for one thing, expecting you're going to do. Friends ruined everything, basically.
Oh, okay.
Fucking Friends.
No one's going to get caught off guard again. So I'm sure that when Ruben Fleischer came on, he said, this is how much I'm going to get paid for this one, and then if we decide to do a second one, this will be the rate for the second one or whatever. I guarantee, like, especially in the world of trilogies at the very least, like, I don't think they would have made that mistake. But
So how do you make Venom 2 good? Does anyone have any brilliant ideas to throw to Sony right now?
I guess it depends on whether you think Venom 1 was good.
That's a really good point.
yeah.
Because
We agree that it wasn't.
Then change nothing.
Yeah, but we don't think it was good, but it made $800 million.
Right. Don't ask my opinion, studio. Because if I walked in, I said, well, this is how you make it good. They're like, right, but how much money will it make? I can't tell you because Into the Spider-Verse, I thought, was your better Spider-Man movie, and it made way less money. But it got an Academy Award, so take that for what it's worth. I don't know. How do you make it more like Spider-Verse? I guess you don't because it's Venom.
If you want to impress me for the sake of conversation, you make something that isn't conventional. Venom was a superhero origin story from
By the books.
1998.
Yeah. Paint by numbers.
Okay, and so you can't do that again. You can't do the sequel now.
Yeah.
Which is
Probably what they'll do, just double down on what
Well,
they thought.
we upped the stakes. The villain's bigger than ever.
Yeah.
The world has never been in more harm's way.
He lost his powers. Will ultimately be the thing. So that's how they save $100 million halfway through the movie is by saying, oh well, now he can't be.
Yeah, there's
Venom.
gonna be a part where the symbiote Venom gets up and leaves and is like, I need to find myself. Sorry, I need to find myself.
Yeah, there we go.
Said-
Go to my
Sounds like
homeland.
Dr.
No,
Claw.
I bet Carnage beats him in their first encounter or whatever, and then it's like, so the whole question about anti-heroes is you do the right thing in the wrong way. So you save people by killing, or in Eddie Brock's case, maybe you manufacture evidence to make a case against Cletus Cassidy or something like
He
that.
has to sacrifice his integrity as a
his journalistic
journalist.
He
integrity.
did that in the
to do the
first
right-
one when he went to
did.
his girlfriend's laptop.
So all those beats were in the first movie. Doesn't mean you can't do it in the sequel again. Of
course.
But that's I do, James. I think you're right. Is there's an initial thing, you establish it. Carnage gets on him somehow. Venom tells Eddie, is like, oh, I have a son and I hate him, and then
It's about a bad dad again.
Yeah, it's bad dad. They lock horns in the courtroom, and Eddie's like, no, I have evidence, journalistic evidence, and the court's like, we don't care, we like this guy too much. They let him out. They fight when he's out. Venom loses because, I don't know, he's not willing to get dirty enough to beat Carnage for some reason. And now Eddie by himself as a journalist man has to decide, is he going to manufacture evidence to get Cletus back in the asylum room? I don't know.
We're still pretending he's a journalist.
That's
Is that how it
underpinning of it.
ended? He had a YouTube channel?
Being Venom isn't
that's
enough
right.
to pay the
Okay.
bills.
At some point, he's got to throw away Venom, and then Michelle Williams comes in as She-Venom, right?
She already did that.
Well,
Oh.
again,
The movie
though.
already did that.
Again,
That's-
though.
No, but they can't do it again because
Yeah.
they already did that.
But
It's
more.
what they'll have to do is
Again, but
he's
more.
going to befriend some kid, right? He's going to befriend some kid at the beginning of the
Oh,
movie,
no.
and then ultimately what'll happen is it'll be him as Venom, her as Venom, and the kid is Venom.
Holy
That's
s-
that's the only way you can up the ante of She-Venom is now you need family
Kid
Venom.
Venom.
And
Dog
they're all
Venom.
Venom.
Yeah.
There's a dog that's now Venom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like it's everything Venom. It's like, oh, that's how we've upped the ante.
no.
That's
Is there a
how you
scene
do
where
it.
they go to Subway and eat a Venom sandwich?
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He's got to be like a street urchin that he gets some sort of secret journalism
Oh my
news
God,
for
you're
his
right.
YouTube channel.
It's going
right?
to be a kid wearing a newsy cap that like is barefoot and can sneak into air vents to find secret informations. Oh, I can't wait.
So they've got to get busy. This movie's slated for release on October 2nd, 2020.
Great, perfect.
Which is actually pretty soon, considering they just signed a director this week.
Oh,
Hopefully
Yeah.
the
Well, I
script's
mean-
really far.
I mean, this is sort of
how
what-
much filming do they genuinely have to do?
I was gonna say you're always gonna come in within schedule if you have a release date before you ever sign a director.
I mean, maybe they're already rendering some of the action scenes.
That's great. If they've already got the action scenes done and no director, that's perfect. That means we're perfectly on pace to make a shit movie.
Oh, boy.
Good God, I didn't know that.
We don't know that's
They could push the date,
the
but
release
that's what
date
it's-
is very
They won't,
close
because
for a movie to come out.
it's
They'll push it.
the fact that they're even doing it on in the same month as the last one. Where
They're
they're like,
not taking any risks.
they're like, it's same thing,
Same thing.
story,
Do it
same
again.
thing.
I
Do it
love,
again.
This
I
one's-
love Sony.
This
right?
one's red.
I want. Now we need to talk about logo treatment. Where's that two gonna go?
Well, it's going to be like Venom Maximum Carnage or something, right?
They're
It's not going to be
definitely
Venom
not
2.
going to call it Venom 2. They're going to
Why
call it
not?
something else.
I think they're gonna call it Venom 2 TWO, and then the number 2 underneath, and say the sequel to the first one that you love so much.
Okay.
It's even coming out on the same date.
Spider-Man question mark?
Oh,
Wow.
So
Yeah.
you guys want Spider-Man in this movie?
No.
No,
What
not
about
this
Andrew
one.
1,000 years.
Garfield Spider-Man?
No.
I don't want anything.
There was a guy who I had worked with.
Want any of it?
I don't want any of it.
I remember when they announced that they were going to do Venom in Spider-Man 3, I got excited because as a
Yeah.
kid I liked
Yeah.
Venom.
Me too.
And there was a guy who worked with, he was like an IT guy who I worked at like back in the day, and he was a hardcore comic book reader, and he kept saying Venom's stupid.
Venom is stupid.
Venom is
And
very
I kept
stupid.
going, what? No, Venom's such a cool character. And he was like, Venom's dumb. There's nothing redeemable about Venom.
Just
you don't
edgelordy.
want Venom. And I went,
Very edgelordy.
I
He was a Todd McFarlane special, right?
See, hold on, guy. You can't just blanket shit on all comic stuff from the 90s. Because, yes, now it does seem stupid. Yes, now it does seem stupid. But it was cool. You can't deny that it was cool.
really
I'm
was.
with you. I'm James and I were the kids growing up watching the shitty '90s cartoon that I still love in a weird way.
Not crazy about that.
Follow you to the edge of the
I only say because
Love that
the,
shit so
the
much.
opening animation is so good, and then
Shocker!
and then the story kicks in. Yeah, shocker! Yeah, he's
That voice actor really
I
swung
still
for it, man.
fantasized about Felicia Hardy's boobs.
Hell yeah,
Absolutely.
dude.
How they got bigger when she
got
transforms into
hotter.
a black cat. Yeah. No, I understand that the animation was probably pretty.
It's pretty
it
crude.
Came in under budget.
Oh my God, I just realized Catwoman, Black Cat, same fucking. Never mind.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, of course.
There's a lot of overlap there.
Thanos,
Well, and just also
Darkseid.
thematically, both those characters are like, stop being a normal person and just be Spider-Man/Batman forever, and we can be cool superhero fuck pals. And
Yeah,
like,
but they combined Gwen Stacy and Felicia Day
Yeah.
or something into the same.
Felicia Hardy.
Felicia
Felicia
Hardy.
Day.
My bad. Anyway,
How dare you?
There were cool moments where the Spider-Man made Venom interesting and vice versa.
Yeah.
Because they did the thing which I thought they did really well in the new Spider-Man movie, which is what's one of Spider-Man's powers that we haven't explored? Oh, his spider sense. How does he use that to defeat the villain? Venom's whole thing is that he can block Spider-Man's spider sense. So now it's like, oh, okay, now you have to outsmart him a different way. You use loud sounds.
Hit a bell.
He hit a bell. But regardless, it's interesting to see the anti-Spider-Man be this huge hulking thing, which is just looks cool and could be cool. But maybe there's a reason why the new video game didn't use Venom. Throwing that out there. I don't know.
That's for Spider-Man 2.
Maybe-
Spider-Man Venom.
It will take a smarter man than I, or woman, to make
Well,
Venom and Spider-Man work well
The game
20
did
years from
Sinister
now.
Six, which is like the other plot line you use. It's either that or like clones or whatever, which no one
no
wants.
clones.
So,
So-
yeah.
You started to rap Eminem's song for Venom. Who should do the rap credits song for Venom 2?
R.
Maximum
Kelly.
Carnage.
R. Kelly's a good pick, actually.
Done.
All the ones I'm thinking of are too high profile, like Kendrick, No Way.
What do you mean for
Eminem's
Venom?
pretty high profile.
One of the highest grossing films of 2018, 19?
18.
When did it come out? It came out
I don't know if they're
last
willing. Do you think they'll have the budget to just drop?
The
that
movie
money on
made
one-
$850 million.
Yeah, never
year?
mind.
Who's on
Right.
Sony's music label? That's the real question.
Ah, there we go.
Adam.
Who's on
always with the real answers.
It's who's on Interscope? It's gonna be Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, they
Like-
put out an album recently, didn't they?
I don't know.
2018.
Guaranteed the song's gonna be called Venom 2.
T.O.O.
no, it's gonna be called Carnage. You kidding me?
oh yeah.
It's time for Carnage. In parentheses, and Venom 2.
White
T.O.O.
Zombie is back together for one last song called
Isn't Rob Zombie got a new movie coming out? That's not what
Yes.
we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
Off topic.
Different podcast.
Anyway, let me tell you guys a little bit about our sponsor this week, Hims, a wellness brand for men. The sun is out. Summertime's upon us. It's time to get out and enjoy the weather. Are you busting out that old trucker hat or baseball cap for a day at the beach or a ballpark? Is it for style, or are you rocking it to hide some thinning hair? Don't sweat hair loss this summer. Do something now while you still can. We've got a problem. 66% of men start to lose their hair by age 35. Is your hairline creeping back like the setting sun over the horizon? The best way to prevent more hair loss is to do something about it now, while you still have some. Why do nothing when we have the science? Hims is the answer. A one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. Hair loss can be a real hit to your confidence. I know hair loss is something that I worry about too, but it doesn't have to be that way. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims is helping guys be the best version of themselves with licensed physicians and FDA-approved products to help treat hair loss. No more snake oil pills, gas station supplements, or deals with the devil. Just prescription solutions backed by science. 4Hims connects you to real doctors online, which saves you hours and is completely confidential. All you have to do is answer a few quick questions which a doctor will review. And if they determine it is right for you, can prescribe medication to treat hair loss that is shipped directly to your door. I will also personally recommend speaking to your doctor to make sure that this is safe and appropriate for your specific body and health situation. Stop fussing over getting sunscreen on that spot of thinning hair up top. Do something to help stop hair loss and help promote hair growth. Order now. Filmhouse listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5. Today, right now while supplies last. See the website for full details and safety information. This could cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy somewhere else. So go to 4hims.com/filmhouse. That's FORHIMS.com/FILMHAUS. 4hims.com/filmhouse. Thank you, Hims, for bringing us here this week to talk about Venom.
Thank you so much.
They're like, we're sorry.
So we're going to start a little bit of a film club here at Funhaus on Filmhouse. And so in a couple weeks, on August 23rd, we are going to review the Deathstalker 1 and Deathstalker 2.
Oh, I saw Deathstalker 1.
Yeah, these are awful films.
That movie's
What?
horrible.
Yeah.
What? How dare you?
No, it's morally reprehensible.
Well-
that movie's intense, man. I haven't seen Deathstalker 2 yet.
You know what
but-
it also is? Available on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Available on Amazon.
I trawl Amazon Prime
in
every
North
day.
America or whatever.
I watched
In the US.
Galaxia last night.
So go check out, watch some Deathstalker. Come back in a couple weeks, and we'll talk about Deathstalker if you want to join
We're
in
doing
on
the
the
whole
conversation.
trilogy, all two of them.
It is.
There's two
it
more.
is
There's
creepy,
four of them
dude.
actually, and
Four?
two spin-offs actually. There's 6 films in the
The Stalk
Deathstalker.
Deather?
Yeah,
No, one of his female companions got a spin-off.
Oh,
I
like the
believe.
Red Sonja.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
boy.
love this.
Anyway,
The
check it
last
out.
movie I
Join
always
us
think of a female lead.
on the Deathstalker cast on
Christ.
August 23rd. That is, unless that's right around D23. So if Star Wars releases a trailer, we probably have to talk about that.
Boo! That
We'll
movie's
do that
also
for a couple minutes and get back to a real story.
That
Get back to
movie's
Deathstalker.
That movie's chock full of tits, right?
Yeah, some of it, just the
FYI.
trailer alone looks like a softcore.
It's more or less, but a lot rapier. Anyway, enjoy that.
It'll be fun, everybody.
Sure.
So for the rest of the podcast, we have a few minutes. I think people have been asking about it. We all sort of enjoyed it. Different
I loved
levels.
it.
I was gonna say,
But
don't talk
yeah,
for me, you monster.
I loved it, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it too.
Loved
Okay.
what?
Tarantino's 9th film.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was super self-indulgent, masturbatory to a certain point. It was a big love letter to Hollywood, and I really enjoyed it.
Described every single Tarantino movie ever made.
I see it as even more self-indulgent than any of his other movies, probably.
It's kind of like Hail Caesar, but it does kind of have more of a point than Hail Caesar did, I think.
Does it?
I think so. I took a very powerful point by the end of it.
Yes,
Okay.
I agree. Hail Caesar felt a little confused, and it was like, oh man, it's fun to watch the Coen brothers like get distracted making these other movies in this movie that they're trying to make.
To me, it almost seemed like they were making a TV show and then had to make a movie out of it and just took their favorite little tiny bits.
Kind of. It just seemed like they
was
were
no
like
through line.
enamored by that era of filmmaking, and they were like, let's do a film that's set in that era, so that way then we can just make little side movies, and we'll just like, whereas normally it would end up in the special features, we'll put the whole scene in there. We'll put the whole dance scene that we did, and it was probably fun for them, but it didn't feel as genuine as this. This felt like a movie, and I think because of the way Quentin Tarantino made the whole thing, that sometimes Quentin Tarantino does just get distracted by things in his other movies. Like, it's like, oh, we're on our main character. What's that car? And then you follow the car for 45 minutes, and it's like completely different characters.
There was a lot of cars and music in this movie.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
kind of
it's
rolling
great.
around town.
It was great.
But I think that was it. Brad and Leo were so great. I was down to just chill with them for the 2.5 hours.
I
there
wish Brad
didn't have
Pitt
to be a
was my
point.
best friend.
Yeah.
I like that there's no conflict between them ever.
Yeah.
Not
No,
once.
it's,
Oh, yeah.
it's about their
Well,
bromance.
there's
That's like
a-
one of the two themes of the movie.
There's
I mean,
nearly a
I
conflict
wouldn't call it a
between them.
bromance.
I don't know. They
I
were
definitely got a bromance
yeah.
vibe.
They were in
Well,
love with each other. What
yeah.
I wrote the
boy, I
quote
didn't get that
down.
at all.
More,
like there
more
was a-
than a brother and less than a wife.
Yeah.
was how someone described their
I
relationship.
definitely got the vibe that they fucked, that they had sex with each other.
no.
Oh,
I said
really?
he carried his load.
I know, but that's.
I thought that was going to actually be a twist in the movie that they
Huh.
were lovers.
No, I got the vibe that Leo is just so self-absorbed that he doesn't even realize all the sacrifices that are being made on his behalf.
Well, I think there's
Well,
that
yeah, that,
too.
sure.
Which is just like, to me, the entire thing, and this is basically literally said, the entire thing is a parable for how stuntmen are treated in Hollywood.
Yeah, I get all of those things, but I also think that there is almost a romantic relationship between them. I don't think that relationship could only be specifically applied to that thing, which is why I felt like the movie was so interesting to me. That's why I loved it. It's like Brad Pitt loved him, like really genuinely loved him, and I felt like he was prepared to do anything for him and encourage him in any way, shape, or form, even if it was to his own detriment, just because he was so enamored with this friend of his that he would just go for it. And I kind of loved it because it didn't veer into abusive. The movie paints it in a way that it didn't feel like an abusive relationship. I never felt like Leonardo DiCaprio was an
like taking
asshole to
advantage of
him or
him.
taking advantage of him. It felt like he asked him to do things and was like, is it okay if you do this? And he's like, sure, man. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Which to me feels more genuine and back and forth. And then there's 1,000 things Brad Pitt does that he doesn't even realize that is helping him out.
I think a lot of people give modern movies shit for the male gaze, but this movie, I feel like, doubled down on the female gaze of just taking in Brad Pitt for minutes on end.
The coolest he's been since Fight Club, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
He looked amazing.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Would you live behind a drive-in though? Would that be cool or obnoxious?
I mean, in his little shack.
Yeah, in the
his
little trailer.
That's
his dog.
like what Lawrence was saying. I think that's just a very Tarantino
Yeah.
thing where it's like a stunt man who lives in a trailer with his dog.
Well, also behind the screen.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, there's.
It's such a it's literal.
Yeah.
To the point, but like
I mean, it's literal in the sense that
Yeah.
actors step over the bodies of stuntmen to make their careers. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah, can you
literally happened.
Expound upon what you were saying
Oh,
as
sure.
far as a parable for how Hollywood treats stuntmen.
I mean, I think the movie is pretty explicit in that regard. What I find just sublime about the movie, first of all, Zoe Bell did on the stunt coordination, which is fucking amazing. And then the fact that the movie is bookended with some of the most ridiculous practical stunts. Setting 8 people on fire is not something that happens. No one does that anymore. No one even sets one person on fire anymore because it's dumb. It's like, it's a stunt that no one wants to do and is ridiculously dangerous. It's way too costly. I mean, I think you guys even kind of butted up against that a little bit, trying to like look into doing a particular sketch. But to do that, it is a grand statement about, I think, Zoe Bell's talents and about them like trying to elevate practical stunt work, especially since we're in the age of stunt now. Like something like Hobbs and Shaw is done by hundreds of very talented stunt performers, but they're not on the poster. They're not even in the academy. Like there's nothing for it. So a movie like this that is essentially bookended by 2 ridiculous stunts of setting 8 people on fire to start and then setting a person in water on fire at the end.
Do that.
But also like the movie doesn't masturbate on those scenes. Like it's couched in it being a scene in another movie. So it's not like the movie's saying this is our big spectacle. I mean, it kind of was at the end. That's how movies end. But the movie itself had ridiculous practical stunt work in it and very much 70s style stunt work of just like haymakers and guys falling off of buildings. guys getting into fights. It's not like the Bruce Lee style of like Hong Kong martial arts, which is essentially what's pervading action films now. So the fact that the movie is very literally about stuntmen being ground up and tossed away, but also the stunt work in the film is incredible, but also there's not a huge magnifying glass put on it. The movie doesn't put a frame around all of its stunt work and say, pay attention to this. Mm-hmm. There's even a Western style like fall off of a roof thing. Dude falls through a balcony onto the floor, and it's a quick cutaway. That's it. It was done for like comedic effect, but I don't know. So to me, it's like not only is the movie literally saying that, but it also lives it because it has a bunch of incredible stunt work that it also doesn't draw a lot of attention to. Mm-hmm. Something like Death Proof, it's right there. Like the whole movie is a girl on the hood of a car. So this to me was like, not only are you making a point, but you're also living it in a very genuine way, in a very clever way. So I don't know. I got chills at the end when they slam Brad Pitt into the ambulance and he drives off, and then the actor goes over to hang out with Roman Polanski. I'm like, yeah,
a little fairy tale ending.
Yeah, sort of, except that it's just like, I think there's a grand sadness there that's been happening in Hollywood for decades. You see headlines, they come and go. Somebody died on the set of Resident Evil. Somebody died on the set of Fast and Furious. People gave their lives away for just to see a building fall over, and that's incredible. And it's just not really respected how much that factors into it, and how much there's that shirtless scene on the roof. As much as that is appreciating Brad Pitt's physique, it's also all the scars.
Yeah, he's covered in scars.
He has the specific scar you need to fix my shoulder bump. The one along the clavicle, that's what that is. And that's what every stuntman has. Not saying that I'm one. I'm just saying that like that's just a common injury.
Yeah.
So it's to see that stuff, it's like, no, there's like a real understanding there of what that dynamic is like. It's weird because I only have a very limited, like, I've never been a professional stunt performer, but I've gone to school and hung out with them and got to talk to a dude, like the dude who worked there was one of the old Western stuntmen, and his skill set was, I have to be able to ride a horse, I have to be able to throw a haymaker, and I have to be able to fall off stuff. I have to know how to unhitch a wagon. Like this was the stuntman's toolkit, and he could barely walk. Like he could stand for about 20 minutes before he had to lie down on the ground. Like it thrashes your body. It's almost like old wrestlers, and I love
the same thing.
Yeah,
it's taking huge hits for entertainment.
Yeah, but I think even stuntmen don't get to perform in such a controlled environment. Wrestlers at least have like nice mats. Well, the professional ones do. And there is some amount of effort taken to preserve their longevity. For a stunt performer, you're on set, you do your stunt. If you get especially fucked up, they give you hazard pay, and then you're gone. And that's it. Done. You don't get to like brag about it. Your job is over and you move on to the next thing after like eating a ton of painkillers. So
I think I was gonna say I love all of that, but I think what makes this movie even better is that's not its only agenda. Quentin Tarantino never like picks one thing. Some people pick one thing out. That's enough for a movie. But again, also, the movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes long, so it should have more than one agenda. But like, I also love that as much as it does accurately state how stunt performers are stepped over, it also has a couple good commentaries on just like celebrity.
Yeah, how we treat celebrities
through Sharon
when they're getting
Tate's
older.
She arguably has the smallest focus in this whole film, but like even her perspective is like, she has to show the person that she doesn't, is she famous? She doesn't know. She's kind of wrestling with that. She isn't sure. She kind of also leads this domestic life, except when she goes to places and people are like, oh my God, you're the most important person here. And she's like, okay, I guess if you say so. I feel like I'm just having a good time. I thought that was a fun thing. But then Leonardo DiCaprio, I think the thing that makes it not feel like an abusive relationship, because he is his stuntman, is that it will focus in on Leonardo DiCaprio's character and the fucking turmoil that he's dealing with on the other side, even as the one who's getting all this credit, who has a job that is arguably way easier. Like, if you ask anyone on the street who's got a harder job, the guy that jumps out of the building or the guy who pretends like he's going to and then stops and then goes to his trailer. But like, I think they do an amazing job showing the burden of an actor.
A lot of that was in Leo's, I think, subtle performance, actually. You saw him choke back stutters a few times. Like, they didn't ever hammer it home or even talk about the fact that he might have like a speech impediment, but just showed brief glimpses of it.
Yeah, it was great. And then there's like the scene where they show him acting poorly, feeling not confident, and then acting great. And it's like, you could show that to two people and maybe they wouldn't necessarily notice the difference, but I think that you'd feel the difference. But if you like have ever trained in acting or know that stuff, kind of like the stuntman thing. Like if you know that world and you can see those nuances, you know the scars and stuff, like it means more to you. The acting is kind of the same way, where when he nails it, you're like, fuck, like, oh, that's great. And honestly, my favorite point in the whole movie, other than the very end, the ending scenes, is when the little girl comes over and it's in the trailer and goes, that is the best acting I've ever seen in my whole life. And then he goes, thank you very much. And then dies inside because it's like,
was
like,
that
I
part,
did it.
Was that part in the movie?
Yeah,
This
it's
is
in
good
there.
fucking note.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
During the Angry Birds premiere or whatever, they do mute it or whatever. I saw some movie
I
that
saw
was
the
like, we went somewhere,
G-rated
we saw something that was
version.
like PG-13 or something, and they showed that trailer and they kept it in and they took out the first time I think I've ever seen a trailer get bleeped.
Yeah.
It was weird. Anyway.
So you were talking about Sharon Tate. This movie, I think, is interesting because you kind of have to know something about the Manson murders. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to know everything about
no,
it.
you don't.
it feels
you don't
super
think-
arbitrary if you don't, though.
If you don't know that Sharon Tate's going to be murdered, like, there's no tension at the end of the movie when those
Yeah.
murderers are outside of the house.
yeah,
Also, what's her point in the movie?
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
I feel like-
she's essentially like Alfred Hitchcock's ticking time bomb. Like, every
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
you show her, you're showing that time bomb
Yes.
ticking around.
After Inglourious Bastards, I took that as, if there's going to be any historical movie this guy makes, it's not gonna follow what actually happened.
But I guess the difference there is Inglourious Bastards is everyone knows the historical significance of World War II.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
You say
Nazis
we're in
and
World War
Hitler.
II, and you can already go, all right, I get it. I understand that it's a war movie. There's
Sure.
historical significance there. But just showing this blonde, if you don't know Sharon Tate and what happened to her, then just showing a blonde woman going around town by the end of the movie means nothing.
sure.
That's to build a specific amount of
Yeah.
tension. I think
That being
is
said,
released at the very end.
It is called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and it does flash the date over and over again. So yes, you might not know. I think you can still enjoy it for all the, again, she's the smallest part of it. I think he understood that some people may have no idea what I'm talking about. And he goes, those people are fucking idiots, but
Yeah, he doesn't care.
but who gives a shit? But we're gonna put it fucking in there. And,
Yeah.
and so like, I think that's why it's the smallest part. It doesn't focus as much on that. But I do think that if you do know, it is a icing on the cake of this film for me, because it is the ticking. Every time I saw her, I was like, they're counting down.
It was refreshing though, because I went in thinking, well, he did Inglourious Bastards, and that just takes a dump on actual history. But it's a movie, so you're allowed to do that, and he can do whatever he wants. It's fine. I liked going into this movie not knowing what was going to happen next. They do a lot of these anti-tension scenes where they have tension and it builds up to nothing. Where it's like, he goes and he's like, where's Bruce Dern? And he's like, he's asleep somewhere. He's asleep. And he's like, I want to check on him. Like, you can't check on him. And it's this whole buildup. And then nothing really negative happens out of that, really. Like, it doesn't go the way you think it's going to. And I thought that was just refreshing.
I think they paid that tension forward, though. And that scene specifically, you're absolutely right. I was expecting that to be like a whole brawl. And instead, he finds the guy. It's actually the narrative that they put out. And he goes back to his car's been slashed. He beats the shit out of that dude.
Yep.
So, like,
beating up hippies.
yeah, basically.
I kind of
which-
love all the fuck hippie talk. It was funny.
Yeah, of course. Because, like, if you're working at the time, good God, you
Yeah.
can't stand that shit. But I think, like, that scene, it's interesting because that scene, there's little blue balls there, but also you know that tension still lingers and is going to happen again.
Yeah.
So it is pretty masterful in that they don't give you the release right away, but tell you it will be coming later.
But they set it. The way they set it up in the end of like, this is the night. We've already shown these hippies. They're in the car. It's the house. So like, as a viewer, I'm going, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to do. And obviously, I guess we're in super spoiler territory, but like the way they execute that ending, it's so tonally different from the rest of the movie that I found myself enjoying it.
Yeah.
Well, I was like,
It was
just
just super cathartic seeing
I was
those
just
guys
like,
get the shit
I was
kicked
just,
out of them.
Christ.
he just leans into the violence so
Well, but
much.
Part of it to me felt like it was yet another agenda where it's like everyone is burdening themselves. They're constantly balancing the mundanity of their everyday lives to make these bigger than life things become real, aka movies, right? But for the most part, he's feeding his dog and he's sleeping next to his drugged out wife. Like it's all really boring. He's talking with agents and like dealing with his career and stuff. But then ultimately, when it merges, like you're like, oh shit! Sometimes my life is the movie, and I do like Quentin Tarantino does that a lot, where he's like, it's just regular people.
Think about
in
that.
strange
He literally
situations.
puts on the
but it
flamethrower.
always ends in a movie. Like, it's weird. Like, all of his movies acknowledge film or entertainment or storytelling or lies.
There's some meta narrative involved.
But they always end up being a story that's more interesting than the story that they were trying to tell you. So, like, Inglourious Bastards, most of it takes place in a movie theater. They show the propaganda story of a sniper on a tower taking
it's all
out
about the
people.
power of
It's
film.
all about how powerful is film. But then ultimately, the film you're watching is way more powerful and interesting and climactic than that shitty film that was in the movie.
Yeah.
Even in Hateful Eight, a movie that doesn't have predates film, starts with this Lincoln letter. So, and that's basically the movie, right? Like, he's like, here's this facade, right? But everyone around is like, that's the most amazing facade I've ever heard of in my life. And then it ends with them stringing someone up on a bed and like just everything's gone to shit. And you're like, oh, that's way more interesting than the letter. But then the movie still reminds you about the letter at the very end. Like, it's not something in all of his films, but it's something he's been doing a lot lately where he's like, all right, we're gonna build to a climax, and that climax is gonna be so much better than all of these other fake shit. Like, he makes things that seem cool in his movies to knock them aside at the end to show them something cooler. And I think that's pretty masterful. I think there's no debating that he is a
agree.
master of his craft for that very thing.
So, did any of y'all have a problem with the Bruce Lee stuff? Because that seems
No.
to have caused a little bit of a controversy after this
What, that
movie.
he throws him into a car and it was
Did-
bad?
he said
Bruce
he's-
Lee's kind of an asshole.
He's so much
Yeah.
up his own ass, which
Oh.
if you've ever, like, I've read his books and
Yeah.
I've seen his interviews, he's absolutely up his own ass.
That's my thing too.
he had a right
is-
to be,
Yeah.
but also
could
he
have
was
killed
super up his own
anybody,
ass.
probably.
That's it. Didn't
And also, Muhammad Ali could probably have whipped his ass. I mean, I'm just putting that out there. So
I love
We'll
Bruce
never
Lee.
know.
I absolutely
Same.
love Bruce Lee. I think he's fucking great. But like Lauren said, I read a lot about Bruce Lee. I've watched a lot of interviews and behind the scenes, and that's kind of on par with how Bruce Lee presented himself outside of all of his films. In Enter the Dragon and like Return of the Dragon, all those movies, he's this very stoic, very honorable, who's great at what he does, but he understands his power. But Bruce Lee, in real life, at least as perceived through his interviews and his writings, is like
Confident.
overpower, show them your strength, like don't be pushed around, fuck that guy who made Kung Fu, like
David Carradine?
Oh, David
Yeah, he
David
hung himself,
Carradine,
it's fine.
Like he was very much that kind of person. He's like very confident, and I do think that confidence is what got him as far as he did in his career. But so when I saw the scene and he is basically confident
He's
prick,
exactly what you thought.
I was like, that kind of makes sense.
Well, it also sort of violates the standard like stuntman philosophy, which is that you show up, you take your hits, and you leave. And it's not about you. You're just there to make everyone else look good. You do your job and you go. And Bruce Lee like changed a lot of that, and for the better. I mean, he changed the look of stunt work. He changed the fact that a leading man could act and do stunt work. Like, he changed a lot, and I think that's. And as much meta, that's what that scene is about. It's about the conflict of the shifting face of stunt work in Hollywood. But yeah, there are definitely like the vibe in stunt work is that you don't showboat, you don't talk, you show up, you take your hit, and you leave.
I always see this as like one of the things Tarantino said about his movies is his most personal. And of course, if you watch this movie, you go, what the fuck? How is this personal? It's because he adores and loves film, and
Probably
this is
grew
his
up.
life.
He
In
grew
a
up during
certain
his
generation,
transition.
of
So-
film,
consumed
I
it.
think.
So I always saw the things like Inglourious Bastards, and at the end of this movie was sort of like his take on, this is what I wish happened. I think this is what everyone does have. And in his mind, maybe he's like, yeah, I've researched and read a lot of Bruce Lee, and I know Bruce Lee. And it would have been awesome if some stunt dude kicked his ass in like an old, leathery Robert Redford looking dude beats up on this shit talking dude, which is, don't get me wrong, the legacy of Bruce Lee will always be bigger than any sort of person he ever was because of the impact he had. And people would rather remember that. I have no idea if he was really like this like an asshole, but it made for an entertaining scene.
It was
in the
very
movie.
fun, and he didn't necessarily get his ass kicked, and Brad didn't get his ass. Like, they both like traded blows, and it ended essentially just showing that Cliff Booth is a badass. Like, he didn't kill Bruce Lee or like beat the shit out of him. He just threw him into a car. And it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
He just put him over for the audience, essentially, using a wrestling term. So what happens in a world where the Manson family doesn't kill Sharon Tate or the other people they killed, and the summer of love doesn't end, and the 70s never got dark and paranoid, and we just had the summer of love until 2019?
I guess the downward spiral never gets recorded in that house. Thoughts?
I have no idea what you're referencing.
The Nine Inch Nails album, Downward Spiral, was recorded in the house that Sharon Tate was murdered in.
Oh.
Moving on.
They still record it there. I don't know. It is weird because a lot of reviews I read for this were like, "Oh man, Quentin Tarantino really hates hippies." But kind of to that point,
Everyone hated hippies.
Well, kind of to that point, I was like, "Well, he hated those hippies."
It's also a good joke. It's just a good recurring joke.
Like he hated those hippies, and these people at this point in time hated those hippies. But that is a good question because in some ways, these fucking hippies, are the ones who ruined it for everyone else.
A couple of psychos.
Adam Carolla does a really good bit about Charles Manson where he's like, what a fucking moron. He basically coaxed a bunch of super hot women to just hang around and bang all day. Just fucking all day. And then he ruined it by sending them out to go murder. Like he could have just done that for the next 5 decades, hang out on a ranch and bang his life away.
So we get one more Tarantino film. According to him, he's going to quit after 10. Does anyone actually want it to be that Star Trek, R-rated Star Trek movie that he keeps talking about?
So to me, and this is related to Once Upon, is like Star Trek was actually pretty monumental in terms of TV and cinema. It did a lot, and it pushed a lot of boundaries, both the original and like Next Generation and all that stuff. I could see Tarantino extracting that significance, and I imagine through that significance he probably has a particular love and respect for the series. So I could see him doing something really kind of in the way that this was kind of profoundly dealing with stunt work and like the transition of Hollywood at the time. I could see him doing something pretty transcendent with Star Trek as a property. I don't think it's going to look like any Star Trek we've ever seen because R rating and all that, but I'd like to see him try. I love the series.
Science fiction is like the one genre that he hasn't really touched. So
yeah,
I've always, Lisa said it too, like Quentin Tarantino doing science fiction would be pretty cool to see because it would be something we probably haven't seen before. So
I'd personally rather him do something more original. Someone else will make another Star Trek movie. I'd rather if he really is gonna retire. I like his movies. I'd rather him do something.
You say
Tarantino.
When you want to make as much money as possible, you retire like Jay-Z or Michael Jordan.
Take a decade off.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you know what? This is my last one. Or you're, Childish Gambino, and you're like, this is the last tour I'll ever do. Oh, wait, it made so much money? I guess I'll do it again. That's how you can get away with charging so much money.
Well, he's been at this plan for a while because he's been talking about it for years.
I also think that even if it was Star Trek, it wouldn't be Star Trek.
Yeah,
it's Quentin Tarantino. Inglourious Bastards and Django are technically things that already existed that then he made in his image, and I don't think anyone ever watches them and goes like, oh, like he just ripped off the old Django. Like
there's a good video. I forget the channel who did it. Maybe Vox.
Paramount, right?
What?
Or CBS? Trying to think of the
It's
corporate entities that
Paramount
you'd have to
does
work through.
down.
Sorry, I didn't mean
No, it's fine. I was saying to that point though is that like Tarantino's just really good at he's perfected stealing in the way that he steals
makes it his own.
Yeah, it's the same way like a music producer steals or like remixes in a way. It's sort of having like being a tastemaker in a weird way. I don't know. He's unlike so many other directors out there. I think Edgar Wright's maybe the closest, possibly. But I don't know. I'm glad this guy's still making movies, even though he loves feet, and we got to put up with that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But so he knows we know he loves feet.
He's got to be trolling a little bit at this point.
Yeah, he's absolutely
with the amount of dirty feet.
Put your fucking feet
face.
up there.
You guys want to take this?
Put him on the glass.
Tarantino foot quiz to end out the show.
Sure.
Here,
Why
let's see
not?
if I can zoom into this.
Oh, we know that. Come on.
This is Pulp Fiction, right?
That's Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Easy.
What's
Kill
this?
Bill.
Kill Bill.
1 or 2?
Volume
That's-
1. That's her waking up.
Yeah, that's one.
Is it?
No.
Oh, it's
Oh.
That was 2. That's at the end when she's in the
Oh.
bathroom.
Oh boy.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't seen
This is
Volume
Jackie
two.
Brown.
Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
Death
That
Proof?
is Death Proof. That is. Oh, I know. Hold on. Inglourious Bastards. That's the shoe scene. Yeah.
Kill Bill or Resident?
That looks like the church. Is that the church?
But that was in
volume
the
1?
second one.
Yeah, that was Volume 2.
Was the church in the
It does really look
right.
like. Oh wait, there might have been
Dusk Till
flashes of
Dawn?
it. Yeah, it might be Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh boy.
But Dusk Till Dawn was a Selma Hayek scene, and why wouldn't they show that?
Yeah, and also
I guess that gives it away.
He
though.
didn't direct that.
No,
He
this is the sheriff arriving at the aftermath
There you
of
go.
the wedding.
Oh, it's the beginning.
All right.
That's Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mia Wallace.
Yeah.
What is this?
I think it's Django.
That is the
Is it?
is that
The fight.
That's Django. Those are the
Yeah.
the two
Yeah.
dudes beating on each other.
Oh boy. Is that Pulp Fiction?
That's right, Jackie Brown. Because I don't recognize it. And I've
you never seen Jackie Brown?
seen it twice.
I like how it has like it has the film noir stripe of light, but it's over toes instead of eyes.
Yeah.
So good.
Let's go Jackie Brown.
No.
it was Pulp Fiction.
Kill
Kill
Bill
Bill
Oh,
Volume
1.
it
one.
was? What? Jesus.
Oh yeah, we know that one.
Don't know my feet.
Oh,
God.
was that
watched
was
this
that
movie.
Once upon a time.
was that the assistant Oren Ishii's friend?
Oh,
Assistant.
the nose
That's
lady.
Death Proof.
The-
That's in the deleted scene.
How do you? Never
That's
mind.
Kill Bill.
That's Kill Bill Volume
Bill
2.
2.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the double foot kick.
What is this?
Uh,
A little liquor drink.
the only thing I could, only because I'm not familiar with it, would
Jackie
be
Brown.
I would say maybe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood after he gets married to that
No,
Italian woman.
No, it's Jackie
No.
Brown.
Okay, Jackie Brown.
Hey,
Hey, nice
look
job.
at him.
Kill
Oh,
Bill.
God.
That's when she's stepping on
Two.
the eyeball.
What the fuck?
Uh,
Well, this might be a giveaway.
I think it's Jackie Brown.
Again?
Damn it!
Oh,
Huh. Oh, that is
that's
Kill Bill Volume 1.
1?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the movie.
Move your,
Big Toe.
wiggle your little toe. How many feet do we have to look
There
at?
it
There you
is.
go.
That's the one.
All right.
That's the big one.
Gee,
Boy, that was the big giveaway.
We got 14 out of 17, guys.
not bad.
I'm proud of y'all.
I didn't realize how many. Counting from Dusk Till Dawn isn't fair because he just was it.
Wrote it?
I think he wrote. It was him and
He's in it.
Rob Rodriguez. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of the
Robbie
Gecko
Rod.
brothers.
Yeah, he
George
is.
Clooney. When are we gonna get more Gecko Brothers?
They made a show and a video game. So
They made a From Dusk Till Dawn video game.
yeah,
Hey, really?
Holy crap!
Yes,
You
they
play
did.
as the Gecko Brothers,
yeah. You play as George Clooney, whatever
Seth
his name is.
and
Oh, I don't know.
Gretchen.
I only know Seth.
Gecko.
Seth is George Clooney's character because when Quentin Tarantino's character dies in that movie, he falls down dead, and then George Clooney goes, "I love you," and then he opens his eyes, he goes, "I love you too, Seth," and then he comes back from the dead.
That's
as
right.
a
Because he's a
vampire.
vampire.
Oh,
What a great film.
well, I want to thank Hims
It
again
is.
for bringing us here this week to talk about what Venom 2 could be and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is a movie I think we all liked, right? If,
I loved
if you
it.
haven't seen it, I say go check it out. It's
long.
It's a little bit long, but especially if you like movies or film or history at all, I think it's very enjoyable.
L.A. around that time. Yeah.
The magic window.
All right, so again, in 2 weeks, come back and talk or listen to us talk about Deathstalker.
A real film.
1 and 2.
Oh, man.
Real superior filmmaking there, probably. Thanks for coming around. See you guys next week.
Right.
Bye.
Go see this movie.
Yeah, dude. Shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think even if you consider yourself to be kind of above dumbass movies, this is a good test. If you watch this and you still don't like it, then yeah, maybe there's nothing in it for you, and you can just safely ignore all dumb movies from here to the end of your life. But if it's hard for me to imagine the person that wouldn't get something out of this film.